Some significant and major Eagles injury news going into this Week 18 regular season finale against the New York Giants, and it's also going to impact the Birds going into the NFL playoffs as well. Before we take a look at some injury updates on DeVonta Smith, Darius Slay, Zack Cunningham, and the meaning of them, make sure you subscribe to the show. Here on Eagles Now, we give you daily shows on the Birds, and we cover the latest news, rumors, and analysis, so hit that subscribe button, and as always, go Birds. Let's begin with DeVonta Smith. This is great news right here. Avoided a major injury in the fourth quarter this past week, left the stadium in a walking boot and on crutches. He was out of the boot and off crutches this week with no limp and in good spirits. He was not on the practice field on Wednesday as he tries to recover from this injury, and he got rolled up on, trying to pass block on that 3rd and 19, on that awfully conservative drive where the Eagles recovered the onside kick. Had an opportunity, I thought, to really dust the game away, and they could not. But again, the good news here, looks as though DeVonta Smith avoided a major injury, and according to Nick Sirianni, he might be able to play on Sunday against the Giants. Nick Sirianni has said so many times, this is one of the toughest players on our football team. I'm just surprised that by the look of the injury, him leaving the link after that loss to the Cardinals in a boot and on crutches, that he might be able to return for Week 18. Smitty even said, if I can play in a football game, I'm going to play. It requires a lot to keep me out. So I do love his toughness because he only stands at 6 feet, 170 pounds. He is nicknamed the skinny Batman, yet he plays a lot bigger than his size. And for everybody saying, why are you using him as a downfield blocker? I actually think one of the important jobs of a wide receiver is to block to help out your teammates. And for Smitty as a wide receiver, another great year. Rookie year, he was awesome. Year 2, more than 1,000 yards and actually set the record for the most receptions for an Eagles wide receiver in franchise history. Year 1 set the record for the most yards for an Eagles rookie wide receiver. And here in 2023, 81 grabs, more than 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, and brings that explosive element to the Eagles offense as well. And what he brings to this team and why the Eagles would have missed him if he was out for an extended period of time, route running technician. Beautiful footwork. You can really tell that he works intently on his craft. He's slippery in the open field. I want to see the Eagles offense get a little bit more creative on some crossers, some routes underneath, to find a way to get him the football because he's so dynamic in picking up yards after the catch, making you miss, but also with that pull-away speed. Some good vertical speed, too. I like his versatility because he can play outside wide out or in the slot, and then his toughness. He is a willing blocker. He can go up to catch some of those 50-50 balls. He plays a lot bigger than his slight frame. In the big picture, either way, looks like Smith will be healthy enough to play in the wild card round. And when the Eagles lost that game against the Cardinals, I thought it was pretty noteworthy that Ray Dinger said it might be the worst Eagles loss in the last, half century. And I'm like, wow, that's really saying something right now. It felt ugly. It looked ugly. The Eagles' effort, the Eagles' execution was awful. And then on top of that, salt in the wound with one of the Eagles' top playmakers in DeVonta Smith maybe being significantly injured, but looks as though he's going to be with this team maybe in Week 18 or in that wild card round, and it just helps out this Eagles' offense, which needs to get back on track. So predict the score in Week 18 between the Eagles and the Giants. There are so many teams across the NFL that are sitting their quarterbacks as well as their starters. Nick Sirianni, I don't think, is going to do that, nor has he alluded to that because he knows the Eagles need to catch fire and need to catch a rhythm. Get those score predictions in for this game at MetLife Stadium. More to get to on the Eagles injury front with Darius Slay and Zack Cunningham, but first, we got to get to our sponsor, Factor. This deal, one of the best deals that we've ever had to offer our viewers. 50% off using the code EaglesChat50. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so that you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, the prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered straight to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. You can get the honey and mustard chicken, the red chili pork tamale bowl, chicken and mushroom dish is also really good. You can get some red meat in there as well. Southwest ground beef and rice. The options are limitless. Good veggies as well. Sponsored by Factor is today's show. 50% off using that code EaglesChat50. You pick your pre-made meals. They're prepped and cooked to perfection. You heat them up and you enjoy them. Now let's segue to Darius Slay. Said there's a chance that he could play against the Giants. He's been out since that Week 15 going into the Seahawks game because he underwent arthroscopic knee surgery on an issue that he said has been bothering him for quite some time. And he even was transparent and honest and said, I think it's important for our starters to play against the Giants so that we can get some good vibes going and good momentum going into this wild card matchup, which looks to be against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If they lose, maybe the New Orleans Saints or the Atlanta Falcons. Here's that quote from Big Play Slay on Week 18. We need to go into the playoffs with good momentum. I know everybody's worried about their bodies, but on this team, everybody knows in their hearts, like, hey, we got to go out there and play a complete, clean game when that stuff is just executing. And when Slay does come back, whether it's Week 18 or it's in that wild card round, defensive play caller Matt Patricia is going to have a decision to make. Do you bench James Bradberry, or do you have James Bradberry on the outside with Darius Slay on the outside opposite of him, or do you go with one of the younger players in Keely Ringo or Eli Ricks? Yes, they're inexperienced, but if they're playing better football than James Bradberry, I think you got to go with the better player right there. So I'm interested to see what Matt Patricia will do. Also, word to Matt Patricia, stop putting Hassan Reddick back in coverage. It makes no sense. Slay in 2023. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 68.4. That's not bad. That's in the green, according to PFF. Coverage grade of 68.6. He has 2 picks, a passer rating allowed of 82.3, and then 14 pass breakups. That ties the amount of pass breakups that he had last year when he was a much better player, I thought, but still noteworthy there with those 14 PBUs. As for Zack Cunningham, I think this Eagles team has missed him when he's been out. They've had to reshuffle the decks, or the chairs on the deck at that linebacker spot. They've really not had a lot of continuity at linebacker, at safety, at corner all year because so many people have been in and out of the lineup because of injuries. Zack Cunningham, though, when he has played, has been a pretty pleasant surprise. He's second on the team in tackles with 80 behind Reed Blankenship, and I think he's been solid in coverage, not bad against the run. And if you have that linebacking tandem of Zack Cunningham and Shaq Leonard, who played pretty solid 2 weeks ago against the Giants, against the Cardinals, though, not that good, but nobody on that defense played well, nor could anybody stop the run, then I think that's a better linebacking core, which could be better against the run and the pass, and what we've seen and been accustomed to seeing from the Eagles linebacking core this year. A reason to be optimistic going into the playoffs, the similarity between the Ravens in 2012 and the Eagles in 2023. The Ravens late in the year made a coordinator change. The Eagles late in the year made a coordinator change as well, going from Sean Desai to Matt Patricia. And the path for the Ravens, very similar to the path of the Philadelphia Eagles, which is pretty crazy when you kind of look at both of the teams side by side. The 2023 Eagles got off to a really good start. So too did the Ravens. And the 2023 Birds, Week 12, win in overtime. Loss against the Niners, blowout fashion. Loss against the Cowboys, blowout fashion. Then a heartbreaker of a loss in Week 15 against Seattle. Week 16, they beat the New York Giants, and then they lose again. And the sky is falling. Everything's falling apart for Philadelphia. But the 2012 Ravens actually had a pretty identical path where they also struggled late in the year. Also of note, they were trying to rally around Ray Lewis that year. Hopefully the Eagles are trying to rally around Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, as well as Jason Kelsey. Look at this 2012 Ravens team for how they ended the year. Week 12, a win in overtime. Then the exact same results. 3 straight losses, a win in Week 16, and then they ended the year with 4 out of 5 games in which they suffered a defeat. They caught fire in the playoffs. Joe Flacco was lighting it up. Can the Eagles do the same? I'm fascinated to see. What do you think? Your level of confidence in the Birds to make a deep playoff run. Scale it for me from 1 to 100. 1, not confident at all. 100, very confident.